And he also broadcast 10 years for the Cleveland Indians baseball team. The last 2 years, he's been with the Boston Red Sox. And he's been the voice of the Red Sox. And, Kenny, it's a pleasure to work with you. Come on in here and do this game.
Okay, Pee Wee, thank you very much. Briles right now is taking his warm-up throws and ready to lead off for the Red Sox is a young fellow that the ball players sometimes refer to as Happy Jose. That's Jose Tartabull, who has a wonderful disposition. Sweet little guy who can really run the bases and very often will bunt his way on. He has hit only 2 home runs during his American League career, which includes 463 games prior to this season. He's been stringing the ball well lately, though, and has done a good job in right field. Of course, the Red Sox miss very much Tony Conigliaro, who is here with them, but who is not eligible to play in the series after having sustained an injury about 6 weeks ago. The story on Briles, the St. Louis pitcher, probably the most interesting story on him, is what he has done over the last couple of months. He has won 9 straight ball games, pitching tremendous baseball. Tartabull steps in. Mike Shannon, the third baseman, up the line. The outfield playing a step toward left, although Tartabull is a left-handed batter. Briles gets his sign from McCarver and delivers. Ground ball out to second, off to the right, a step. Javier throws the first in time. Tartabull hits the first pitch to the second baseman, and there's 1 out in the top of the first inning. Javier came up with a tremendous fielding play in Game 2 against Elston Howard, one of the best defensive plays of the series. Dalton Jones at the plate from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He made 15 hits in his last 35 at-bats in the last 2 weeks of the season. Left-handed hitter, takes the fastball low and inside, ball 1. On the year, Dalton batted .289. He had 3 homers, 25 runs batted in. In the series, he is 3 for 9. Nelson Briles throws, the pitch is foul back, and the count is even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Briles was 7-3 at home and 7-2 on the road. The outfield playing straight away for Jones. Right-hander works. The pitch is swung on and missed. Going for low breaking stuff on the inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bobby Doerr, one of the all-time great second basemen of the Red Sox, coaching at first base. Eddie Popowski, who's been with the Red Sox organization 30 years, coaching at third. Curveball is swung on and missed for strike 3. Dalton Jones strikes out as Briles gets him with a good hard curveball. 2 out in the Boston first.
There's the curveball I was talking about, Kenny. Both Nelson Briles and Gary Bell has a real good overhanded curveball, and that's a tough pitch for a left-hander to hit. Now, let's see if Carl Yastrzemski gets any of those.
Carl is 3 for 8 in the World Series, 2 of the hits being home runs. They play him deep and toward right. The pitch hit him. It appeared to hit him on the left leg, and he is going down to first base. He tried to pull back out of the way, and he was hit by Briles' pitch. So Yastrzemski becomes the first base runner of the game. The field is bathed in sunshine with the exception of right field, where Roger Maris is in the shadows. With Yastrzemski on first now, George Scott comes up. Scott batted a solid .303 on the year. Now Dick Williams, the Red Sox manager, has come out and is talking with the plate umpire Frank Umont. A discussion down on the third base side.
Ken, I believe, did you remember yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the first pitch for Jim Lombard to Lou Brock was kind of high and inside. And Jim Lombard was accused by a few of the Cardinal players that he was dusting him off, come a little bit too close. Well, you notice Nelson Briles did not bother the first 2 batters, but when the big one, Carl Yastrzemski, came up there, he took him down pretty good. So now then, the umpire behind home plate, he is called Dick Williams. The manager of the Red Sox out, and Red Shannon manage the Cardinals, and say, and try to tell him, let's not have any of this today. And Red Shannon is probably saying, well, look at here, why didn't you say something up in Boston? But that's exactly what they're arguing about, the knockdown pitch of Nelson Briles to Carl Yastrzemski.
Okay, and now the two managers go back into their respective dugouts, and George Scott, big, strong right-handed batter, steps in. George in the World Series, 3 for 7. Yastrzemski's first 2 men out. We're in the first inning. There is no score. The outfield is deep and straight away. Scott has good power to all fields. Briles checks and throws. Pitches low and away. Gets away from the catcher. Throw down to second base. Out at second. The shortstop taking the throw as McCarver lost the ball momentarily. Yastrzemski took off for second, but McCarver threw it down to Maxfield, and they get him. And so, after a half inning, the score is the Red Sox nothing, and the Cardinals coming to bat. Okay, Pee Wee. Elston Howard has just thrown the ball down to second base as Bell concludes his warm-up throws, and now the 30-year-old right-hander is getting set to pitch to Lou Brock, who had a tremendous year with the St. Louis Cardinals, batting .299, had 21 homers and 76 runs batted in, and in the series is 4 for 8. He had 4 hits in Game 1. In Game 2, of course, the Cardinals had just 1 hit. Bell looked into Howard for the sign. The outfield toward right. Pitch is a breaking ball in for strike called. On deck is Curt Flood. Batting third will be Roger Maris. Bell is 6'1", 203 pounds, out of San Antonio, Texas. Right-hander, rocks and fires. There's a fly ball toward left center. Yastrzemski going hard. It's past him in the gap. Brock around first, digging for second. He might get free around second base. Petrocelli with a relay. Throw to third base. Safe with the triple. Lou Brock has led off for the St. Louis Cardinals by driving one into the gap in left center field. The left-handed batter going the opposite way and whacking one through to the wall and winding up at third base. Nobody out in the last half of the first inning, and the batter is Curt Flood. Right-handed hitting center fielder with an average on the year of .335, 1 for 8 in the World Series. The infield at this stage is back. Bell fires, and the fastball is high. Ball 1. Brock hit 12 triples during the season. Pinson led the National League. Beta Pinson with 13. That's the 5th hit for Lou in the World Series. Pitch, line drive, base hit into left center field, and the first run is home. A single for Flood, and Brock scores. The Cardinals jump on top quickly, 1-0. Reggie Smith firing the ball into second base, and very quickly the Cardinals lead. Curt Flood is on first base. Nobody out in the last of the first, and the batter is Roger Maris. Maris on the season batted .261, had 9 home runs, 55 runs batted in. And in the World Series, he is 1 for 7. But he drove in both runs for the Cardinals in the first game on infield outs, as Brock scored both of them. So Brock now has scored all 3 runs the Cardinals have in the '67 World Series. Flood's got a good lead. Bell checks and throws. Grounder back to the mound. Throws out to second for 1. Back to first for a double play. Gary Bell wasted no time as he turned and threw to Petrocelli covering at second base. And Maris has hit into a 1-6-3 double play. And there are 2 men out in the last half of the first inning. St. Louis ahead 1-0. And the applause is for Orlando Cepeda. The brilliant Cardinal first baseman batted .325, had 25 home runs, and 111 runs batted in this season for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cepeda has had to fight a late season slump, and he's 0 for 7 in the series. Gary Bell throws a fastball down low. Center fielder Reggie Smith playing Cepeda a step toward right. Yastrzemski straight away and deep out in left field. Dell into the windup. Right-hander throws. Breaking ball inside. 2 balls, no strikes on Orlando. Cardinals lead 1-0 last half of the first inning. On what has turned out to be a beautiful day in St. Louis. This is the second World Series for Cepeda. There is action now in the Boston bullpen. Gary Wozlewski is warming up. The pitch is outside, 3-0. From our vantage point, we cannot see the action in the bullpen, but fortunately we're able to communicate and find out. And Wozlewski, who was up part of the year with the Red Sox, a tall, rangy right-hander, is loosening up. 3 balls, no strikes to count, 2 out, nobody on. Bell throws, Cepeda takes a call strike, and it's 3-1. Elston Howard working back at the plate. Starters at first, Adair at second, Petroselli at short, and Jones at third. Yastrzemski in left field, Smith in center, and Tartabull in right. Dick Sisler coaching at first base, and Joe Schultz at third for St. Louis. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Cepeda, it's a high pop-up. Back at third, Petroselli and Jones drifting over to foul territory. Jones makes the catch, and the Cardinals are out in the first inning. But they pick up a run, and so at the end of 1, the score is St. Louis 1 and Boston 0. He tried to reach second base after McCarver dropped the ball, but Tim threw him out. So here's George back up there again. Nelson Briles throws, ground ball, hits the pitcher, goes out towards second. Javier gets it, throws to first, and gets him. A brilliant play by Julian Javier on a ball that was deflected back off Nelson Briles, went out to the second baseman. He had to come in and barehand it, and threw on to Cepeda for the out. So it'll go 1-4 to 3. Another fine play, the second in the series, reeled off by the Cardinals second baseman Julian Javier. Now, Dick Williams, the Red Sox manager, is out protesting the call to the first base umpire, Augie Donatelli. It was a close play at first base. One out and nobody on in the second. St. Louis leads 1-0. Williams walking back over to the Red Sox dugout, which is on the third base side in St. Louis, as Reggie Smith prepares to bat. On the season, Smith, who's a switch hitter, batted .249, had 15 homers and 62 runs batted in. He's 1 for 6 in the World Series. Tim McCarver working back at the plate. Cepeda at first, Javier at second, Maxville at short, and Shannon at third for St. Louis. Here's the pitch. Low and inside, gets past McCarver. Ball 1. Brock is in left, Flood is in center, and Maris in right. McCarver now goes to the mound, wants to talk with Nelson Briles. The official scorers for the World Series, Bob Addy of the Washington Post, Larry Claflin of the Boston Record-American, and Neil Russo of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. The lights are on here in St. Louis, although the sun is shining. Here's the pitch. Smith hits one deep but foul toward right field, putting one out to the upper deck area as Reggie really came around on the pitch by Nelson Briles. The umpires again, Frank Umont back of the plate, Augie Donatelli of the National League at first, Ed Runge of the American League at second, and Paul Fry of the National League at third. Pitch is a ball to Smith, low and inside. Down in the left field corner, it's John Stevens of the American League, and in right, Al Barlick, the senior umpire in all baseball of the National League. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on. Second inning, 1-0 St. Louis. The pitch low and inside, 3-1. Nelson Briles was born in Doris, California. He lives in Carmichael, California now. He had the best earned run average on the St. Louis staff this year, 2.44. 3 balls, 1 strike. The pitch. Strike called on the inside corner at the belt. Full count. Briles worked 155 in the 3rd inning, so he failed to reach the minimum 162 required to qualify for the earned run rating. Stocky right-hander takes a deep breath out on the mound, gets his sign, and throws. There's a little blooper that is grabbed by Shannon. The third baseman, Mike Shannon, leaping to his left, came down with a little blooper off the bat of Reggie Smith. A very fine defensive play by the Cardinal third baseman. Maxville, the shortstop, was also going over toward the hole on the play, trying to back Mike up, but he leaped high in the air and brought it down. So there are 2 men out, nobody on in the second, as Jerry Adair steps in. Batted .266 on the year, 2 for 8 in the World Series. Right-handed batter takes a ball that goes in the dirt and goes past McCarver. Ball 1. Frank Humont dusting off home plate. Adair, an Oklahoman, did an outstanding job with Boston after coming over from the White Sox this year. His average for the season, as I mentioned, was .266, but for the Red Sox, in 89 games, he hit .292. Here's the pitch. Curveball low and outside. Ball 2. Adair ended the year with an 8-game hitting streak and a .351 average during that stretch. Outfield playing him straight away. Jerry hits the center and right a lot. This time he grounds to third. Shannon has it, throws to Cepeda, and the Red Sox are out in order in the second. No runs, no hits, and nobody left on. After 1.5 the score, St. Louis 1 and Boston nothing. Then hit into a double play, and Cepeda fouled out to the third baseman, Dalton Jones. So here in the second, with the Cards leading 1-0, the batter is Tim McCarver, the catcher. McCarver, batting .295 this season, is 0 for 6 in the World Series. He is a left-handed batter with very good speed for a catcher. Pitch to Tim is a strike called. McCarver was the batting leader in the 1964 World Series, hitting .478. Got at least 1 hit in each of the 7 games. Shannon is on deck, and Javier will be up third. Uses a closed stance, crouches at the plate. Bell throws, a strike called on the outside corner. McCarver turns and questions Husky Frank Humont. 2 strikes to count on McCarver. Bell looks into Elston Howard for the sign. Right-hander into action. The pitch. Fastball outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. St. Louis leading by a score of 1-0 as we start the last half of the second inning. Bell into action. The right-hander throws. McCarver checks the swing and takes the ball. Tim had a notion but held back on it. Bell, over the years, has averaged 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings during his American League career. Averaged just over 6 this year. He's been used as a starter and a reliever with Cleveland. Gary delivers. There's a shot ground ball through into center field for a base hit, and McCarver takes a big turn and holds it first. Tim McCarver leading off the second inning for St. Louis. Drills a single. Petrocelli went to his left to try to make a play, but there was no chance for Rico as the ball went past him into center field. So the lead man is on for the Cardinals in the second. They lead 1-0, and Mike Shannon, right-handed batting third baseman, comes up. That was the first hit for McCarver in the World Series. Shannon is 2 for 7 in series competition this year. The pitch to him. Drive deep toward left field. This is back. It is gone for a home run. Grossman is batting .281, or did on the year, and in the World Series, he's 3 for 7. He has also done quite a job in the field. The pitch to him, line drive, base hit into left center field. Yastrzemski cuts it off and throws it in towards second. Here's the runner coming, and he is out at second base as Yastrzemski, who has a great throwing arm, fires it into Adair to get him. Javier gets credit for a single. Yastrzemski going hard to his left. Picked up the ball and fired a strike into Adair, and there is one man out. Howard, the catcher, goes to the mound to talk to Bell. Shannon was the St. Louis right fielder in the '64 series, and he had a 450-foot home run in the first game against Whitey Ford. The batter is Dal Maxfield now. One man out. The Cardinals, 2 runs on 5 hits. Lead, or 3 runs on 5 hits. Have a 3-0 edge. The first pitch is fouled off the end of the bat, strike 1. This is the last half of the second inning. There's 1 out. 3-5-0 for St. Louis. Nothing yet for Boston. Gary Bell kicks and throws. There's a high pop foul off first that is drifting out of play behind the St. Louis dugout. 2 strikes on Maxfield. Dal is 0 for 4 at the plate in the World Series. Batted .237 on the year, but drove in 41 runs, which was a new personal high for the quick-fielding Cardinal shortstop. 2 strikes to him. Bell fires. A strike called on the outside corner at the knees. Maxfield knew it and quietly leaves. That's the first strikeout for Gary Bell, and there are 2 men out in the second. Nelson Briles gets a nice hand as he comes to the plate. As a batter, he's batted .150 during the year. No homers and no runs batted in. Young fellow spent only 1 year in the minors. The pitch to him is hit on the ground towards second. Adair has it. Throws to Scott for the out, and that's all for St. Louis in the second. But they have picked up 2 more runs, and at the end of 2 to score, St. Louis 3 and Boston nothing. Rico Petrocelli leads off. That is .259 on the year. He's 1 for 5 in the World Series. Nelson Briles gets the sign from Tim McCarver. The right-hander throws. There's a high fly ball into left field, fairly deep. Brock backing up, though, has room, and makes the catch for out number 1. Petrocelli flies to Brock in left. 1 out in the third. St. Louis leading 3-0. Elston Howard is at the plate now, and on deck is George Thomas, who will bat for Gary Bell. So Dick Williams has decided to go to his bullpen. Howard 0 for 3 in the World Series. This is his 10th World Series. Pitch to Elston is a strike called on the outside corner at the knee. We're in the third inning. St. Louis leads 3-0. Red Sox up with 1 out and nobody on. Curveball is low and outside, and the count is 1-1. Howard hits the ball to right center field a lot, and Flood is playing him accordingly. Pitch to Ellie is taken away. Ball 2 and 1 strike. Howard has helped the Red Sox young pitching staff a great deal since coming over from the New York Yankees. Briles gets the sign. Right-hander throws. Shot ground ball past the Pater, going down into the right field corner, and Howard is on with a single as Maris fires the ball into second. So with 1 out in the Boston third, Elston Howard gets the first Red Sox hit of the ball game, and now George Thomas is up to bat for Gary Bell. Thomas, a right-handed batter who's been around some and has been with the Red Sox the past 2 years as a utility performer. Average this year of .213. Nelson Briles getting ready to work to Thomas. Howard taking a very cautious lead away from first base. The pitch is outside, ball one. Thomas attends Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan in the off-season, but he was born and brought up in Bloomington, Minnesota, the home of the Twins. Briles at the belt. Right-hander throws. Thomas fouls it back. The count is 1-1. Gary Warzlewski continues to warm up out in the Boston bullpen. Young man who won 19 ball games for Toronto last year. Tall, rangy sinker ball specialist. St. Louis 3, Boston nothing. 1 out, 1 on, and the Red Sox third. McCarver out a couple of steps and hollering something to his pitcher Briles, and now Tim comes back at the plate and gets in the crouch. Flood moving over a little bit to a straightaway center from left center out there in center field. The set in the pitch. Thomas takes a strike call, belt high fastball on the outside corner. 1-2. Again, for late tuners in, it's turned out to be a very nice day in St. Louis after a rainy, misty, foggy morning. The lights are on, but they don't really have to be. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count. We may get rain later in the day, but it's supposed to clear tomorrow. The 1-2 delivery. Nice stop by McCarver. No advance by Howard as the ball was low and outside, and Tim made a backhanded stab and prevented it from going by. McCarver working back at the plate. Cepeda at first, Javier at second, Maxville at shortstop, and Shannon at third. Brockage in left, Flood in center, and Maris in right for St. Louis. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count to George Thomas. Jose Cartable is on deck. Briles shakes off a sign. The right-hander is working a little more deliberately now. The pitch, low and outside. 3-2 on Thomas. 1 out, 1 on, and the Boston third. Cardinals lead 3-0. As St. Louis picked up 1 in the first inning when Brock tripled and Flood singled him in. And in the second, Shannon had a 2-run homer. Briles goes to the belt. The pause and the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. George Thomas strikes out. The second strikeout for Briles, and there are 2 men out with Howard on first in the third. Jose Cartable is at the plate. Red Sox right fielder grounded out to second base in the first inning. Cepeda holding against Howard at first. Cartable hits the ball to all fields, a Sprague-type hitter. Here's the set. The pitch. There's a fly ball into right center field. Flood coming hard. Makes a fine running catch. Kurt Flood makes a splendid running catch of Cartable's fly ball. The Red Sox are down in the third. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. And so after 2 1/2, it is St. Louis 3 and Boston nothing. Warzlewski throws a fastball at the knees for a strike call. If he is on, Warzlewski can be very tough, and especially because of his easy motion, he's a hard man to fathom at the beginning. Flood is on deck. Maris will bat third. Pitch, changeup is bunted foul, and it's strike 2 on the speedster Lou Brock, who led the National League in stolen bases for the third year in a row, with 52 this year in 70 attempts. Lou is playing in his second World Series. He hit 300 in 1964, and many fans and many experts have predicted he would be one of the heroes of this one. Pitch is high to him for a ball. 1-2. Brock hit more home runs in this ballpark than any other Cardinal, 13. Warzlewski, with a big sweeping motion, throws a fastball that swung on a miss, and Brock strikes out. That's the second strikeout for Boston pitching, as Gary Bell had one. Bell worked a total of 2 innings, allowed 5 hits and 2 runs, and had 1 strikeout. 1 out in the last half of the third inning, and Kurt Flood is up. He drove in the first St. Louis run in the first inning with his sharp single to center, sending home Brock. Warzlewski throws. There's a ground ball to second. They are in and up with it. Easy play for him, and he throws Flood out at first base. 2 out in the third. Roger Maris now. Roger hit into a 1-6-3 double play in the first inning. Bouncing one back to Bell, who threw to Petroselli covering second, and then they pulled the double play at first. St. Louis 3, Boston nothing, 2 out, nobody on, last half of inning 3. Second baseman Jerry Adair is stepped back on the grass. The outfield playing Maris to pull, and the pitch. Fastball tails away, ball 1. Third base coach Joe Schultz hollering encouragement into Maris. Warzlewski fires. Pitch is a check swing foul back to the screen, 1-1. 330 down the lines in left and right field. 386 to straightaway left and right. 414 to dead center. 1 ball, 1 strike to Roger Maris. Warzlewski throws. Breaking ball low and inside. 2-1. Elston Howard catching for Boston with Scott at first, Adair at second, Petroselli at short, and Dalton Jones at third. Yastrzemski and Smith and Tartabull from left to right in the outfield. High fly ball into right center field. Smith and Tartabull converging, and it is Tartabull who makes the catch, retiring the side. The Cardinals go in order. No runs, no hits, nobody left on at the end of 3. St. Louis 3 and Boston nothing. Dalton Jones is off for Boston. He struck out swinging in the first inning. One of 2 men has been a strikeout victim at the hands of Nelson Briles. Right-hander throws a curve that chops foul off the first base side on the ground. Strike 1. Jones does not strike out very often. He is now 3 for 10 in this World Series. Yastrzemski is on deck, and Scott will follow. St. Louis leading 3-0. Briles, at the beginning of this year, was the long reliever for the St. Louis staff, and what a job he's done since he's become a starter. There's a curveball lined into left field. It's dropping in for a base hit in front of Lou Brock, and Dalton Jones leads off the Boston 4th inning with their second hit, a single. Runner at first base and nobody out, and the batter is Yastrzemski. Yastrzemski was hit by a pitch in the first inning as Briles hit him with a low inside delivery. Carl 3 for 8 in the World Series, including a couple of home runs, and he now has 2 assists in the series in left field and has made a couple of brilliant plays in the field. Briles at the belt. The pitch. Yastrzemski fouls it back to the screen, strike 1. As he took that savage cut that he's employed all season long. 2-time American League batting champion. Won it in 1963 and again in 1967. But in a much more authoritative way this year with a 44 home runs, and he led the league in runs batted in. Briles ready. Right-hander throws. Yastrzemski looks at a curve inside. And the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Dalton Jones at first. Nobody on. nobody out, rather, in the fourth inning. St. Louis with a 3-0 lead. With Yastrzemski up, Cepeda, although playing close, is not right at the bag on Jones. Briles throws to first and almost threw it away, and Cepeda leaped up and pulled it down. Orlando was not at the bag. Briles, well, he must have known that Cepeda wasn't, because I'm sure he had to glance before he threw. But then he kind of just threw a high lob, and Cepeda jumped up and took it down.
Well, I'm sure I saw Cepeda going and say something to Briles, so evidently he told he's going to play in back of him. Dalton Jones is not too fast to foot and trading by 3 runs. It don't look like they'll be stealing, so he's playing in back of him, but sometimes a pitcher just forgets about that. And the best thing and the only thing you can do, once you make that move, you have to release the ball. He just gave it a little basketball toss about it, keep him from balking.
The count is 1-1 to Yastrzemski. Briles gets the sign from McCarver. Right-hander ready. The pitch. Diaz hits the ground ball to second. Javier flips to second for 1. Back to first. Double play. 4-6-3. Javier to Maxfield to Cepeda. And there are 2 men out in the Boston fourth as Carl Yastrzemski bangs into a double play. One of the amazing things about Yastrzemski this year was his consistency. His monthly home run totals. April, of course, is a short month in baseball. He had 2 in April. And then 8, 8, 8, 9, and 9 over the following 5 months of the year. George Scott is up now. The pitch to George is grounded foul down the third base side. Strike 1. Scott hit the ball well his first time, hard off Briles. And as it deflected off the pitcher, Javier came in and made a very good play in grabbing the ball barehanded and throwing Scott out. 1 strike to count on the big Boston first baseman. 2 men out in the fourth. St. Louis ahead 3-0. Here's the pitch. Scott swings and fouls it back off Umont's protector. Strike 2. Big Frank, who used to play football for the New York Giants, jumped around a little on that one. 2 men out, nobody on in the fourth. 2 strikes to count on Scott. St. Louis 3 and the Red Sox nothing. The pitch. In the dirt, stopped by McCarver. Briles has not walked anybody, but he has been wild low a number of times, and McCarver's come up with some pretty good saves. He's been wild low with his breaking stuff. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Scott. Here's the pitch. Swung on a miss. Strike 3. Went in for a low outside pitch. And that is all for Scott and the Red Sox in the fourth. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left on. So after 3 1/2, the score is St. Louis 3 and Boston nothing. Cepeda fouled out to third baseman Dalton Jones in the first inning. Warzlewski throws. There's a high foul coming back out of reach. 2 strikes to count on Cepeda. Tim McCarver is on deck, and Shannon will be up third. This is the last of the fourth. Cepeda's leading it off. The Cardinals have a 3-0 lead. The pitch is swung on and missed. Strike 3. Cepeda is out, and he's now 0 for 9 in the World Series. The second strikeout for Gary Warzlewski, and it brings up Tim McCarver, who broke the ice for himself in the second inning as he led the inning off with a single and scored the second St. Louis run, coming home ahead of Shannon when Mike homered. Elston Howard sends the sign out. Warzlewski throws, and the pitch is low and inside. Ball 1. The .478 average that McCarver had in the '64 series was the best by a National League player since Pepper Martin's 500 in 1931. Warzlewski winds and throws. McCarver checks the swing and takes the ball outside. Ball 2. McCarver, a left-handed batter. As we mentioned earlier, he has very good speed. He led National League catchers in stealing in 1967 with a total of 8. Here's the 2-0 pitch. High foul, drifting out of play into the lower seats off third. 2 balls, 1 strike. Working behind the plate, Frank Umont of the American League, Augie Donatelli of the National League at first base, Ed Runge of the American League at second, and Paul Pryor of the National League at third, John Stevens of the American League down the left field line, and Al Barlick of the National in right. The 2-1 pitch. McCarver hits a ground ball, shot to his right and with it. Splits underhand to Warzlewski for the out. McCarver bounces out 3-1, 2 down on the Cardinal fourth. St. Louis leads 3-0. Here is Mike Shannon, who in the second inning hit a home run to left field to put the Cards out 3-0. They had a 1-0 lead, and he hits the 2-run homer in the second. Warzlewski now has pitched to 5 men, has retired all of them. Tall, lean right-hander looks into Howard for the time. The pitch. Hit on the ground toward short. Petrocelli to his right. Up with it. Throws to Scott for the out, and the Cardinals go in order in the 4th inning. No runs, no hits, and nobody left on. So at the end of 4, it is St. Louis 3, Boston nothing. Okay, thank you very much. Smith pops up to the third baseman, Shannon, in the second, as Mike made a very good play on a little looper that he had to go back and do his left on. Nelson Briles on the mound. Right-hander fires a fastball low and inside, ball 1. Smith will be followed by Jerry Adair, and then Rico Petrocelli will be up third. St. Louis, with a 3-0 lead, got 1 in the first and 2 in the second. The pitch to Smith is foul back out of play off the third base side and back of the Red Sox dugout. 1-1. Smith is a switch hitter, and from the left side uses a closed stance. From the right side, he opens up some. Outfield playing Reggie straight away. Here's the pitch to him. Curveball lined into right field. It's a base hit. Maris started to charge it, but saw that he had no chance. And Smith leads off the Boston fifth with a solid single into right. Rogers started. Maris is a very fine defensive outfielder. There have been times in his major league career when that's been overlooked because of his power. Now time is called by third base umpire Paul Pryor for just a moment, but we're ready to go again as Adair steps in. The second inning in a row, the Red Sox have had the first man on, but they have not been able to solve Briles in the scoring department. Smith at first, nobody out on the fifth. Throw to first, Reggie is back safely. Bobby Doerr keeping a close eye on the Red Sox center fielder. Cepeda holding at the bag against him. Here's the pitch. Late foul back upstairs. Strike 1. Adair grounded out to Shannon at third base in the second. St. Louis leads Boston by a score of 3-0. 3-5-0 for the Cardinals. 0-3-0 for the Red Sox. Nelson Briles ready to work. Curveball is popped up down toward first base. Cepeda coming in and right in front of the bag, about 10 feet in front of it, just in fair territory, takes the pop by Adair. So there's one out in the fifth inning for the Red Sox. And the batter will be the shortstop, Rico Petrocelli. Rico flied to left field in the third inning. Fellow has shown steady improvement. His RBI totals in the last year have gone from 33 and 65 to 59 and 66, up to 65 this year. And he was the shortstop in the All-Star game. Here's the set. Pitch is a curveball, therefore a strike call. The name Petrocelli in Italian means little rock. And that is what Petrocelli has been in the Boston infield. He's been a very steady influence with the glove. One out, one on in the fifth. Here's the set. Briles throws. Rico swings and misses. Strike two. Petrocelli had a very good finish last year and again this season. Comes from Brooklyn, New York. Briles taking a little extra time now. Here's the pitch. There's a check swing fly ball into short center field. Flood dashing. He's got it. Throw to first base. Smith gets back in time. Chris Flood, who can fly, just did. He came racing in on a fly ball by Petrocelli. Rico is trying to hold back in the swing, and the speedy center fielder tracked it down. 2 men out. Smith on first base in the fifth inning. St. Louis ahead 3-0. Elston Howard at the plate. Howard singled to right field in the third as one of the 3 Boston hits. Here's the pitch. Low and outside, ball one. Howard had the thrill of hitting a home run in his first time at bat in the World Series in 1955 against Don Newcomb at Yankee Stadium. Smith leading away from first. Briles throws. Howard swings and misses on a high fastball, 1-1. In the second game of the 1960 World Series, Howard tied a record by making 2 hits in 1 inning, a triple and a single at Pittsburgh. This is his 50th series game. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 out. Smith at first base. St. Louis leading 3-0. Right-hander Nelson Briles throws. The pitch is foul back up on the swing. Briles getting a new baseball. Cepeda holding against Smith down at first base. Now the right-hander of the Cardinals gets ready. The 1-2 pitch to Howard. Strike called on the outside corner. He got it. The Red Sox go out in the fifth inning. For Boston, no runs. They had 1 base hit and leave 1. After 4 1/2, St. Louis leads 3-0.
You all about it? Ken Coleman.
Okay, Pee-wee, thank you very much. Julian Javier is going to be leading off against Gary Wozlewski, who's been very effective. He's pitched to 6 men and retired all of them. If Howard hadn't had a base hit, he probably would not be in there now because the Red Sox are trying to catch the Cardinals, who have a 3-0 lead, and Dick Williams naturally would have gone to a pinch hitter in this particular situation. Julian Javier has had quite a year for himself. He improved his average 53 points in 1967. He had a single to left field in the second, so he is 4 for 8 in the series at the plate and has done quite a job in the field. Takes a fastball on the outside corner for a strike call. Red Sox, over the course of the season, have shown quite an ability to fight back in the late stages, but so too have the Cardinals in winning the National League flag. A pitch is swung on and missed as he went out ahead of a breaking pitch. 2 strikes on Javier. Maxfield is on deck. The outfield playing straight away. Wozlewski delivers, pitches high, and the count is 1-2. Wozlewski, a tall, lean right-hander, very quiet fellow. He winds and throws. Curveball is low and outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count. St. Louis with a 3-0 lead as we play in the last half of the 5th inning. A shirt-sleeved crowd at Busch Memorial Stadium watching the Red Sox and the Cardinals in the 3rd game of the 1967 World Series. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Javier going for a sinking fastball. And that is the 3rd strikeout for Wozlewski. There is 1 out in the 5th. And the batter is Maxfield. Dal was called out on strikes in the 2nd inning. If you joined us late, in the 1st inning, Brock led off with a triple. Flood singled him home. In the 2nd, McCarver led off with a single. Shannon hit a 2-run homer. Here's a foul back out of play. Strike 1. And that's been all in the scoring department as the Cardinals have 3 runs on 5 hits. The Red Sox no runs on 3 hits. The outfield plays Maxfield a little bit toward right. Pitch is a curve that's swung on and missed. Strike 2. On deck is the pitcher, Nelson Briles. Wozlewski throws. Curveball hit into right field. Carnival going over alongside him. Jose makes the catch for the out. 2 down in the St. Louis 5th inning. 3-0, the Cardinals lead, and Nelson Briles is coming up. 24-year-old right-hander has done quite a job here this afternoon against the team that led the American League in batting this year, the Boston Red Sox. So far, he has not really been in any serious difficulty, and he's resting on a 3-run lead. Grounded to second his first time. Swings, hits a slow over to Petrocelli. Rico throws over to Scott, and that's it in the 5th as the Cardinals are out in order. 9 men in a row for Wozlewski. No runs, no hits, and nobody left on. And so as we reach the end of 5, the score is the Red Sox, or St. Louis 3, and the Red Sox nothing.
Thank you, Ken. A fine job. Yes, sir, we're going to top half the 6th inning. The Cardinals scored 1 run in the 1st inning. As Brock opened the game up with a triple, Kurt Flood came right back with a single. In the 2nd inning, they scored 2 runs. McCarver singled. Mike Shannon hit a home run in the left field seat. But 2 runs, and that's where the score is right now. The Cardinals 3, and the Red Sox nothing. Was going in top half the 6th inning. And Gary Wozlewski pitched quite a ball game. In relief of Gary Bell, retired 9 men in a row. Talking about pitching great ball, Nelson Briles, first pitch. Mike Andrews takes it out into center field. Mike Andrews pitch hitting for Gary Wozlewski. And the Red Sox have something started here in the top half of the 6th inning. And the Red Sox fans have not had much to cheer about today, as it's been Nelson Briles all the way, as he's only given up 3 hits. And so that hit right there by Mike Andrews, leading off in the 6th inning here. Jose Carnival, little left-handed batter with a runner on at first base. Nelson Briles comes set, checks his runner over at first base. The pitch, 3-0. He wanted to take no chance. Winding up are the Red Sox, and it looks like he'll be the new pitcher. It's Lee Stang, little right-hander. Had a real fine year for the Red Sox. And the hitter, here's a fellow that looked real good. Latter part of the season for the Red Sox when they had that tough battle to win the American League pennant. Got himself a base hit today. His name is Dalton Jones. Nelson Briles looking down at his catcher, Tim McCarver. Briles checks Andrews at second. The pitch. Inside, ball one. Dalton Jones hit .407 from August the 19th with 24 hits and 59 at bat, raising his average from 220 up to 289. So you can see when he got real hot when they needed him. Dalton Jones, Nelson Briles pitches in there for call, strike one. 1 ball and 1 strike on Dalton Jones. Jones will be followed by none other than Superman, Batman, Tarzan, all rolled up in one. Carl Yastrzemski. And he's made a believer out of me. He's quite a ball player. He doesn't beat you to the bat. He'll beat you in the field. Strong arm. Dalton Jones takes the fastball. Just got that outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Talking about Carl Yastrzemski. After he finished the game last Sunday with 4 hits, 4 for 4 against Minnesota, I went up to Carl. I said, Carl, I've heard these players call you Superman. I'll have to agree with him. Quite a player. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nelson Briles taking a little more time out there. Checks his runner at second. Here's the pitch. Ball hit out into right field. It's a base hit. Roger Myers coming in. Will Andrews score? Here comes the throw. He'll make it easily as the throw's a little bit off right. And the Red Sox break the ice here. They now trail by a score of 3-1 as Dalton Jones gets a line drive single out in right field. His second hit of the day. Dalton Jones did not go down to second base on that throw, as he was worried that the Cepeda may cut that ball off if he did. So he's on at first base with 1 away, and Carl Yastrzemski is the hitter. Yastrzemski hit by a pitch his first time up and grounded into a double play, 4-6-3 his last time up. 3-1, the Cardinals over the Red Sox when the top half is 6 innings. Yastrzemski holds that bat high. Briles pitch to him. Curveball in there. The call strike one. This is what Ken and I were talking about, that Nelson Briles has that real good overhand curveball, and it's a tough pitch for a left-hander to hit. We thought that they may throw Yastrzemski a few of those a day and try to keep that fastball out away from him. This is a big ballpark. Of course, if he gets a hold of it, he'll hit him out of any part. That includes Yellowstone. There's a ball swung on. No contact. And Briles had something on that one. Strike 2 on him. On at first base, Dalton Jones. 1 away, Carl Yastrzemski is the hitter. No balls, 2 strikes. Let's see what Nelson Briles was supposed to him in this situation. Yastrzemski crowds the plate a little bit more. He gets that bat high in the air. Nelson Briles, he's set, looks over to runners first. Here's the pitch. Foul off the left. There's a good fastball. Yastrzemski may have been looking for that curveball. Of course, that's a tough thing to do, look for a curveball with 2 strikes on you. The fastball was fine. 3 runs for the Cardinals on 5 hits, 1 run on 5 hits for the Red Sox. We're in the top half of the 6th inning here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. The third game of the World Series, 1 game apiece. Yastrzemski takes the fastball outside low. 1-2. George Scott in the on-deck circle. Nelson Briles did quite a job for the Cardinals after Bob Gibson got hurt. They thought they'd lost the pennant. This young fella came right in and took over. 1-2 pitch, curveball, ground out to Javier. He boots the ball, picks it up, flips the ball over to Cepeda to retire Yastrzemski, but moving down to second base, Dalton Jones. Well, this inning started out by Mike Andrews batting for Gary Wazlewski. Got a base hit. Carnival sacrifice. Jones got a base hit. Now, Yastrzemski just grounded out, and Jones moves to second. It's 2 away, and George Scott is the hitter. George Scott, what has he done? He's 0 for 2. He grounded out his first time and struck out his last time up. Curveball and a dandy in there, strike 1. George Scott, they call him Taters. That's what he calls a home run. In his last 50 games, from August 13 on, he had 332. Curveball, swung on. This strike 2. 2 strikes on George Scott. Nelson Briles. He doesn't take much of a wind-up. In fact, not too many of the Cardinals pitchers do. I think they were taught by Billy Muffet. They don't take any big wind-up. They come set, let it go. That's what Nelson Briles is doing. That's what he's doing right now. Here's the pitch. Curveball, hit out to the shortstop. Maxwell up with the ball. Over to Cepeda, and that's all for George Scott. And that's all for the Red Sox here. The top half of the 6th inning. They came up with 1 run on 2 hits. No errors, and 1 man left on base. With the 4 after innings of play, it's the Cardinals 3 and the Red Sox 1. Ready to tell you about it. The bottom half of the 6th inning. Buck burns down to third base. That stays fair. No one will get him, but it rolls foul. Lee Sang, first pitch. The speedy Lou Brock. That would have said there, no chance. We said you have to keep this fellow off this track if you want to beat the Cardinals. That's not easily done either. Brock triple in the first inning, struck out in the third, and here he is again in the bottom half of the 6th inning. The Cardinals lead 3-1. Got some good help in this booth with us today. Tony Kubek. And Snow works with us. Jim Simpson on Major League Baseball every Saturday throughout the year. Sandy Koufax. Brock bunts one down to first baseline. They'll never get him. A good play by George Scott, the first baseman. George Scott, the big first baseman, came over, barehanded the ball, but we were talking about Brock's great speed. He beat Lee Sang to pitch to first base. We told you this fellow likes to run. He only had, let's see, 52 stolen bases on the year, and he's liable to go on the first pitch. Let's watch it. No one away. Stang, there's the throw to first base. George got it out. Lou Brock slipped a little bit. Scott said something to Donatelli. Or maybe I had him, August. We'll keep an eye on Brock. First slug's the hitter. He can handle that bat. Lee Stang over to first base. Brock's back in there. He dives back in. You have to keep this fella close, Lou Brock at first base. Lee Stang. He comes set. Another throw to first. Ball gets away. Stop. He may go to third. They better hurry that one in. He's making a turn at second. Here he goes to third. You don't hurry up, you may go home. He holds up at third. Lee Stang will get an error on the throw. This is what we've talked about so often. Brock, when he gets on those tracks, he not only bothers the pitchers, he worries the infielders because they have to sharpen up. And right now, the infield is pulled in as no one is out. And Kurt Flood is the hitter. And he has not made a pitch from, as you may see, pitches to George Scott at first base. Fastball, low and outside, ball one. Talking about our help here in the booth, Sandy Koufax, Joe Gallagher helping me. Kurt Flood hits a little lazy fly out into right field. I don't believe Gil Brock can score on this. Lou Brock, here comes the throw and the cutoff for George Scott. It was not deep enough to get in Lou Brock from third base. So it's one away now. Lou Brock still on his third base. We're in the bottom half of the sixth inning. The Cardinals have 3 runs on 6 hits. And the Red Sox have 1 run on 5 hits. Wax, Osinski in the bullpen for the Red Sox. The infield is still in. Roger Maris to the hitter. Lee Stang is not going into his lineup. He's looking right at Lou Brock. Here's the pitch. It's low and inside, ball one. You can see what Brock can do to a ball club. Usually a pitcher will take a windup when a man is on third, but not with Brock's speed. They're concerned about him stealing home. The pitch to Roger Maris. Swung on, it's fouled straight back. 1 ball and 1 strike on Roger. Defensively for the Red Sox, Scott at first. Adair at second. Petroselli at shut. Dalton Jones at third. Yastrzemski left. He's not too deep, by the way. Reggie Smith in center. Pull over right. Jose Carterbull in right field. Nelson Howard the catcher. And Lee Stang the pitcher. And here comes the pitch. Inside. Ball 2. Lou Brock on his third. This is Roger Maris' 6th World Series. He's played in 28 series games going into this series this year. The 2-1 pitch. Swung on. There's strike 2. A curveball right into his belt. 2-2 to count. 1 away. Nelson Howard out to say something to Lee Stang. Stang shakes his head. Nelson Harris down now. Back of Roger Maris. He's giving the sign. Stang. Taking the good look. He's ready. Nelson Harris. Holds that target right in the middle. Here's the pitch. Roger swings, hits the ball hard, but it's foul down at first baseline. And it was just foul. Ken Coleman, and I'm Pee Wee Reed. Here's Busch Stadium. Bringing all you fans the third game of the World Series. The Cardinals won the first one. The Red Sox won the second. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Roger. It's outside. Ball 3. Cardinals out in front. 3-1. Nelson Briles all the way. For the Cardinals, Gary Bell started for the Red Sox. Gary Wozlowski came in, and now then Lee Stang here in the bottom half of the... There's the pitch. The ball is a base hit out into right field. Jose Carnival over to cut the ball off. In the score is Lou Brock, and holding on at first base is Roger Maris. Roger Maris knocks in the fourth run. Here for the Cardinals. Getting a nice hand. The big bull, Orlando Cepeda. Lee Stang takes a look over first. Goes over there. Who knows? They may start Roger Maris. Orlando Cepeda does not have a base hit. In the series, he's 0 for 8. 0 for 9.
With that base hit by Roger, that's his third run batted in the World Series this year. He had 2 on ground balls in Game 1 that sent Lou Brock home. So he has been productive in that RBI department for St. Louis.
Lou Brock's been a little productive in run scoring, too.
And how?
The one strike pitch to Orlando Cepeda. The ball is popped up. Nelson Howard may have a chance. He's right in front of the screen. Here comes over George side. Nelson Howard takes it. Roger Maris tags up and makes a bluff. But he's only kidding. That's George Scott, the first baseman. Came all the way in. Roger made a real good bluff. But didn't go. It's 2 away. The hitter is Tim McCarver. McCarver got a base hit to center field. And he grounded out last time up. So he's 1 for 2. First time up today. Left-handed hitter. He squats over that play. Lee Stang's pitch turn. Curveball in there for called strike 1. Nelson Howard throw back to Stang. A little high. Stang had to jump for it. 1 strike on McCarver. On at first base, Roger Maris. The outfield. Swung around a little bit to the right. McCarver liable to hit the ball anywhere, though. Roger Maris takes a good lead off first. The pitch to McCarver's too high. 1 ball and 1 strike. McCarver will be followed by Mike Shannon, who hit a home run in the second inning. The Red Sox, 1 run on 5 hits. The Cardinals, 4 runs on 7 hits. We're in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Lee Stang comes set. Here's the pitch to McCarver. Started, held up, but the umpire throws in there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Lee Stang taking plenty of time. McCarver crouches over the plate. Wraps that bat up the back. Here's the pitch. Curveball, little lazy looper. The third baseman, Dalton Jones, under it and takes it for the third out. And that's all for the Cardinals here in the bottom half of the sixth inning. And the score after 6 innings of play is the Cardinals 4 and the Red Sox 1.
Evan, once again, here's Pee Wee.
Reggie Smith hits the ball hard out to right field. Roger Maris going way back. That ball is gone for a home run. Reggie Smith on the first pitch by Nelson Briles hits the ball high and far out in the right field for a home run. That's 2 for 3. The only time he got him out, he hit the ball hard. Jerry Adair is the hitter. The Cardinals now lead 4-2. We're in the top half of the 7th inning. Nelson Briles. Breaking pitch, blowing outside, ball 1. This Boston Red Sox club has been coming from behind all year, hasn't it, Tim?
That's been the pattern, Pee-wee. They've been very tough in the late innings, and they're trying to get back in against a very tough young right-hander here today.
The pitch to Jerry Adair. Out to shortstop. Maxwell up with the flip over to Cepeda. And that's all for Jerry Adair. 1 down. That brings up a little shortstop. Rico Petrocelli. He flied out to left. And flew out to center. He's 0 for 2. Cardinals over the Red Sox. Nelson Briles. Here's the pitch. Outside, ball 1. Briles doesn't make too much of a move before he releases that ball, before he goes into his pitch. Puts that foot on the rubber. Here it is. Just lets it go. It's popped up. Out into left field. Lou Brock coming over. Calls for it. Holds his hand up in the air. And takes it for out number 2. So after a quick home run by Reggie Smith, Briles settles down and gets the next 2 batters. That brings up Elson Howard. Howard got a base hit into right field his first time up and struck out his last time. 1 for 2. Good curveball. Low and outside. Ball 1. Howard with that wide stance of his. Way back in the batter's box. Keeps moving that bat. Nelson Briles looks at him. He's ready now. The pitch. Low and outside. Ball 2. Noah Howard checks with his coach. Popowski at third. The Red Sox have been trying to play catch-up since the 2nd inning. Really, since the 1st inning, because the Cardinals scored 1 in the 1st. Tough baseball. Howard taking all the way. In there for call strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Whenever you get behind, say like 3-0, you can't play too much baseball. You have to sit and hope that someone get on and pick one here and to pick a couple there and get back in the ball game. You can't hit and run or steal, really. Ball right back to the middle. Javier, the second baseman, over there. Flips it over to Cepeda. And that's all for Elson Howard. That's all for the Red Sox here in top half the 7th inning. But they came up with 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and no one left on base. So after 6.5 innings of play, it's the Cardinals 4 and the Red Sox 2. Pitch in, Mike Shannon leading things off. For the Cardinals in the bottom half of the 7th inning. The first pitch by Lee Stang in there for call strike 1. Mike Shannon is the only native of St. Louis playing on the Cardinals. The umpire is telling someone out in right center that has a banner hanging over the fence. Get it out of there. That's Frank Humont behind home plate. 1 strike on Mike Shannon. He hit a home run in the second inning. Stang hits to him. He busts one down the third base line. He'll never get it. Dawson Jones up with the ball. No play. Mike Shannon caught Dawson Jones back at third. Laid one down, got himself a base hit. The Cardinals 4, the Red Sox 2. We're in the bottom half of the seventh inning. And the hitter now is Julio Javier. Fellas had a pretty good series. Got a base hit to left field his first time up. Struck out his last time. He's made a couple of fine plays in the series. He's one of the finest plays I've ever seen. In the second game up at Fenway in Boston, dove for the ball. Didn't think he had a chance to even knock the ball down. He not only came up with it, threw the man out at second base. No one away. Javier is the hitter. Bang. Pitch. The pitch out. Nelson Briles thought that Shannon was going. The Cardinals like to hit and run. They like to run. Shannon at first base. He only has 2 stolen bases on the year. They're throwing out 4 times. Javier gets a piece of the ball. Here's the pitch. Javier hits the foul. Down the left field line, back in the stand. 1 ball and 1 strike. 4 runs for the Cardinals on 8 hits. 2 runs for the Red Sox on 6 hits. We have a runner at first base, Mike Shannon. And the batter is Javier. 1 ball and 1 strike. Lee Stang. He's the pitcher. Gary Bell started for the Red Sox. Warzlewski, now Stang. The 1-1 pitch for Stang. Here it is. Swung on. Missed. Strike 2. But the Red Sox in the infield defensively. George Scott holding Mike Shannon on down there. Gary Adair at second. Petroselli at shortstop. Dawson Jones at third. In the outfield, Yastrzemski, Smith, Carter Bull. Nelson Howard, the catcher. Lee Stang's pitcher. Here's the pitch. Little tap out to shortstop. Petroselli has to go to first base, and he got Javier. Moving down to second, Mike Shannon. That ball was not hit too hard. Petroselli had to charge it and able to throw out Javier. So he can go down at first baseline. That brings up Dal Maxwell. Maxwell struck out and flied out to right field. He's over 2. Down at second base, Mike Shannon looking around, checking to see where the shortstop Petroselli. Stang looks back at Shannon. Here's the pitch. In there, but called strike 1. Dal Maxwell, one of the fellows that played a little league baseball, and his mother, they tell me, was his coach. He said she was pretty tough on him. There goes the runner, Mike Shannon. As the ball's hit out in center field, they make it a double play. Reggie Smith's got a good arm. Here comes the throw. Did he get him? No. Mike Shannon was fielding third. Maxwell hit the ball. Joe Schultz, the coach at third base, found the ball for Mike Shannon, told him to go back to second. He just made it. So it's 2 away. And the hitter is Nelson Briles. The umpires today, behind home plate, Frank Humont. At first base, Augie Donatelli. At second base, Ed Runge. Third base, Paul Pryor. At left field on the line, Johnny Stevens. And at right field, my old friend, Mr. Al Barlick. on the right field line.
See, speaking of Al Barlick, Jim Lonborg said after the game the other day, the one hitter in Boston that Barlick worked behind the plate, he thought that he was a great umpire. First time he'd ever worked with Mr. Barlick back at the plate calling him, and Jim was very complimentary about him.
Well, he's one of the finest men I've ever seen. And he's been around for a long time. In fact, I think he came up about the same time I did, in 1940. Nelson Briles, the hitter. They sang. First pitch swung on a miss, strike one. Now, it's always nice to hear a pitcher say that.
Yes, it is. It doesn't always happen that way, does it?
No, Al gets on me a little bit. I used to complain and moan a little bit on those call strikes. Every time he sees me, you look at me and kind of make a face and say, "Oh, no, that isn't a strike." Trying to imitate me. And I guess that did kind of beg a little bit. One strike on Nelson Briles. Lee sang sixth turn. Curveball swung on. Miss.
See, I imagine on that last one, Mike Shannon must have been on his own going to third and moving over and stealing. He would have had that base stolen easily, obviously.
He had a real good jump. I don't think he fell down anywhere along there, so I believe he would have made it. Yes. Curveball outside. Ball one. The Cardinals scored one in the first, two in the second, one in the sixth for their 4 runs. The Red Sox scored one in the sixth, one in the seventh for their 2. 4-2, the Cardinals over the Red Sox. And the bottom half of the 7th inning, a little lazy looper. The shortstop Petrocelli goes back. Adair calls for it. He takes it. And that's all for Briles, and that's all for the Cardinals here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. The score here at First Stadium, the Cardinals 4 and the Red Sox 2. Ball one. He's 0 for 1. He sent the series up at Boston. On the year, he batted .251. Good power, 16 home runs. Bringing in no contact. Good fastball by Briles. 1 ball and 1 strike. Briles checking with his catcher, McCarver. Still staying. Takes too much time and Foy steps out of there. McCarver looks over the bench. He wants something. Briles doesn't want to throw it. Here it is. Fastball. Swung on. Miss. Strike 2. Well, you'll see that happen a lot of times. Catcher want a fastball. Keep giving a sign. Pitcher doesn't want to throw it. Catcher goes out and says the manager wants it. I'll throw it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nelson Briles takes his head. Here's the pitch. Good curve ball, but it breaks too far. Briles got a real good overhand curve ball. Little trouble getting it over. 4-2 score. The Cardinals over the Red Sox. Joe Foy pitch hitting for Lee Sang in the top half of the 8th inning. Briles pitch. Grounder out to shortstop Maxwell. He's up to the ball. Flips the ball over to Cepeda. And that's all for pinch hitter Joe Foy. The Cardinals flip that ball around the infield. Cepeda's first. Javier at second. Maxwell at short. Shannon at third. Left field. Brock. Center field. Flood. Right field. Maris. The catcher's McCarver. And Nelson Briles on the mound. All the way. Jose Cardinal. He's 0 for 2. Last time up, he sacrificed. Curveball, dandy in there, strike 1. Cardinal will be followed by Dalton Jones. Jones has 2 hits his last 2 times up. I'm Pee Wee Reese. And Ken Coleman brings you today's game. There's the ball hit out into field. First blood back underneath and takes it for out number 2. Again, I can't see any reason why this ballpark could affect the Red Sox.
No, I think it's a good ballpark for this Boston club because to left and right center field, we have several men who can hit the ball out. I think it's a good, honest, fair ballpark and certainly a beautiful, beautiful place. We're hoping to have one like it in Boston one of these days, Pee-wee.
I understand you are. Hope you do. Dalton Jones. Fastball by Briles in there for called strike 1. One strike on Dalton Jones. Briles looking down the Carver, shakes his head. Briles has struck out 4. Here's the pitch. Fastball hit back through the middle out into center field. Base hit for Dalton Jones. This fellow looks like quite a hitter, Ken.
He's always been a very smooth swinger, and when he's had the chance to play, he's done well. He's had some problems in the past defensively, and this year he's gone in there at third base, Pee-wee, and he's done the job, and he may have just won it for a long time to come, the way he's gone of late. Now we see that Red changing for the first time today is going out to the mound to talk to Nelson Briles. No indication of any warm-up activity as yet. However, there may be. In any case, Cepeda, McCarver, changing, and Briles are having a conversation now at the mound, part of which undoubtedly is how they want to handle Carl Yastrzemski or how they want to pitch to him. And the plate umpire, Frank Umont, is on his way out. This is the 8th inning. And with 1 out, the Red Sox have a runner at first base. The Cardinals are leading by a score of 4-2. But the Red Sox have been chipping away as they come up with single runs in the 6th and 7th. The conference over. Yaz is in. And here's Pee-wee.
Nelson Briles would have liked to have kept that man off of first base and have Yastrzemski leading off. The top half of the 9th inning. One swipe here can tie it up. And he had it going, but he fouled it straight back. What a cut he had himself. Ken, did he swing that hard last year?
No, he didn't. He actually, as you probably have heard, and many people have, I know, during this winter, as Carl said himself, he trained like a fighter. Every day for 90 minutes, he worked out at the health club in Boston, and he had a trainer working with him, and he worked just like a fighter getting ready to fight. And he didn't put on any weight. He weighs about 180 pounds, but he's very, very strong, and he's got that whip-like motion now at the plate.
He holds it hands high. Here's the pitch. Little sliver out to Javier. He's up to the ball. Flips the ball over to Cepeda, and that's ball for Yastrzemski. And that's all for the Red Sox here in the top half of the 8th inning. And the score here at Busch Stadium, it's the Cardinals 4 and the Red Sox 2. Herb Brock batting in the bottom half of the 8th inning. He had 4 hits in the first game up in Fenway Park in Boston. Of course, there was only 1 hit in the second game. That was by Javier. He has 2 in this game. He has 6 hits in the series. First pitch by Danozinski, hit out into right field. That ball may be trouble. No, Reggie Smith will have it. And right center, Reggie Smith moves over and takes it. Ball was hit hard, but Brock. Kind of a high fastball. He chopped down on it. Ozinski, kind of a herky-jerky sort of a fellow out there on the mound. Lots of arms and legs. Kurt Blood. He's up for his 4th time today. He's 1 for 3. Had a base hit to center field his first time up. There's a fastball. It's too high for ball 1. Cardinals 4 runs on 8 hits. Red Sox 2 runs on 7 hits. Ozinski shakes his head. He's ready. Here's the pitch. Blood takes it in there for call strike 1. Frank Umont behind the plate. Big umpire. Nelson Howard moves outside. Here's the curveball. He slaps it down. It's too high. 2 balls and 1 strike. As Howard walks over, receives the ball. Never thought we'd have such a day as we've had today. Kind of a misty rain all day up the game. So there's a ball hit down to the third baseman. Dalton Jones up with it. Over to George Scott, and that's all for Kurt Flood. So Dan Ozeski retires the first two man to face him. Brings up Roger Maris. Roger Maris, 1 for 3. Hitting the double play first time up. Flying out to right field in the third inning. Got a base hit to right field and drove in a run. And as Ken told you, that's his third run driven in the series. Drove in the only 2 runs the Cardinals got in the first. And Ozeski's first pitch is in there for call strike 1. They say he drove them full send. A little rounder, but they count it. There's a pitch in there for call strike 2. The important thing is get that man in from third. That's what he did. 0-2. Let's see what Ozeski will do with Maris. No ball, 2 strikes. Howard, the catcher, gives a sign. He moves outside. Little tap foul down the first base line. Dick Sifler, the coach at first base for the Cardinals, retrieves the ball. He is the son of George Sifler. Many of you fans remember the St. Louis Browns, one of the greatest hitters of all time. George Sifler. Roger Maris pitches outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Two runs, 7 hits for the Red Sox, 1 error. Cardinals, 4 runs, 8 hits, no error. Roger Maris swings, tries to check his face, a little tap. He'll have to hurry. George Scott flips the ball to Reggie, but cannot get it. Well, here's what happened. Roger Maris tried to check his swing. He had a little tap, a perfect punch down the first baseline. George Scott up with the ball. Ozeski over to first, but they couldn't get him. So it's a base hit for Roger. His second hit of the day. The big bull. He still hasn't had a hit in the series. 0 for 3 today. 2 away. Ozeski looks over at Maris. Here's the pitch. Ball hit out into right field. Hardenball going way back. Way back. Top of the wall. Hardenball up with the ball. Here comes Roger Maris in the score, and Cepeda hitting the second with a double. Cepeda gets his first hit in the series. He was 0 for 10. It was a tying drive out off the right field wall, right around that 386-foot sign. Boy, a double. Drives in Roger Maris from first, makes the score 5-2 in favor of the Cardinals over the Red Sox. Remember, fans, Ken Coleman and I will be right back here tomorrow for the 4th game of the World Series between the Cardinals and the Red Sox. Certainly hope that you can be with us. We'll be looking forward to bringing you tomorrow's game and also the game Monday. McCarver, runner on at second base. Here's the hitter, McCarver. He crouches over the plate. Ozeski takes too much time. He backs out of there. Umont comes out. Gets some dirt on the home plate. McCarver's 1 for 3. Ozeski looks back at Cepeda's second. Here's the pitch. Fastball hit out to Maxwell. Petrocelli at shortstop. Flips the ball over to Scott. And that's all for McCarver. And that's all for the Cardinals here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. With that 1 run, though, the Cardinals now lead by a score of 6-2. With a lot of power in the right center and left center. And dead center. 4-14 dead center. Nelson Briles. Foul back straight back for George Scott. Good fastball. Count remains 0-2. Looks like Briles trying to sneak that fastball by Scott. A lot of times you'll see a pitcher with a count, no balls and 2 strikes, make a bad pitch. Maybe you thought George Scott. Here's the pitch. Curveball, low and outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. A perfect pitch on 2. Not so, make the pitch so bad that hitter will not want to offer. Keep it around that plate. Maybe 2 or 3 inches outside. 2 or 3 inches inside. Here's the pitch, 1-2. Curveball down to Shannon at third. The long throw over to Cepeda. That's all for George Scott. As the infield flips that ball around. Brings up Reggie Smith. Reggie Smith did hit a home run his last time. He has good speed. He led the club in stolen base. He has a terrific arm. He's 2 for 3 today. Got a base hit into right. Hit a home run to right field. He led the International League in hitting in 1966. This fella could be a real fine one. He can do it all. Nelson Briles, first pitch to him. Fastball in there for call strike 1. You'll see this happen quite often. Latter part of the game. Those hitters taking that first pitch, some managers will make him take it. Give that pitcher a chance to pitch. Maybe he'll get wild. Inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Briles. Sometimes when he releases that ball, and it falls way over towards first base. Of course, it's pretty hard not to follow through and release that ball with something on it. That's falling a little bit towards first base. Most of them do. Fastball inside the corner. In there for call strike 2. He had something on that one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's 1 away. We're in the top half of the 9th inning. It's his last chance for the Red Sox as they trail by a score of 5-2. 5 runs, 10 hits. No error for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error for the Red Sox. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Reggie Smith. Nelson Briles, he's ready. Here's the pitch. Fastball is popped up. McCarver may have a chance. No, it's back in the stand. So the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. This Cardinal ball club is far back as I can remember. Always had a club that likes to run. That goes back in the early 40s when I first came to the league. Fellows like Enos Slaughter, Terry Moore, Rowski, Dan Musial, Walter Clipper, the catcher. He has very good speed, a whole lot like McCarver. Nelson Briles, 1-2 pitch to Reggie Smith. Fastball just missed inside. Makes the count 2-2. And a great shortstop has played here at the Cardinals. His career kind of paralleled my career. Played against him in the 39 Junior World Series at Rochester. And he came up to Cardinals. Marty Marion. Most of you fans will remember it. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Reggie Smith. Inside, ball 3. Briles gets on top of Reggie Smith. Now, then he'll come back, makes the count 3-2. Bobby Doran coaching at first base for the Red Sox. Ed Sapowski coaching at third. 3-2 to count on Reggie Smith. Has a real closed stance, left-handed. He's a switch hitter. Right-handed, batting right-handed. He's wide open. Here's the 3-2 pitch. He pops it up. McCarver almost knocked Reggie Smith down, and the umpire called Reggie Smith out. McCarver going for the ball, bumps into Reggie Smith. Of course, the Barber that set it with the put up. That brings up Jerry Adair. The big bull, Cepeda, down at first base. He came in and said something to Reggie Smith. 0 for 3 Adair. First pitch to ball 1. The last chance, the last out for the Red Sox in the top half of the 9th inning. They trail 5-2. All the way, Nelson Briles for the Cardinals. Here's the pitch. Adair taking in there. Call strike 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. It really turned out to be a beautiful day. Good old St. Louis today. I hope it's the same type of day tomorrow. The 1-1 pitch inside. Ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike on Nelson Briles, on Jerry Adair. Nelson Briles in 65 started 2 games for the Cardinals. Didn't complete it. Then he started 17 and 66. Started 14. In 67. Outside, ball 3. 3 balls and 1 strike. On Jerry Adair, he checked with his coach at third base. Lebowski. Let's see if he'll be taking or swinging away. His run doesn't mean too much here. He has to get on to keep the hopes alive. Here's the pitch. He's taking all the way. It's in there for call strike 2. 3-2 on Jerry Adair. It's 2 away. Top half the 9th inning. Cardinals 5. Red Sox 2. Third game of the World Series. They're all even up going into today. Cardinals having a chance going out in games 2-1 after today. They can hold this lead. Nelson Briles, he's ready. Here's the 3-2 pitch. The ball is popped up. That should be all of it. Mike Shannon calls for it. He's underneath it and takes it for out number 3. That's all for Jerry Adair. And that's all for the Red Sox in the top half of the 9th inning. The final score, the Cardinals 5 and the Red Sox 2. We'll be back in just a minute with a complete wrap-up of today's game.
Very shortly, we're going down to the field where Tony Kubek is ready to interview Cardinal manager Reggie and possibly Stan Musial. As soon as we get word from Tony, we'll be sending it on down. The totals on the game: St. Louis 5-10-0, Boston 2-7-1. Now down to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Kirk Gowdy. We're talking to the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, Red Shane, is correct. Any thoughts in your mind of just staying right home here in St. Louis and not going back to Boston?
Well, we'd like to just stay right here, but you never know. We got to play in a tough club over there, and we'll battle them all the way. Maybe we'll go back, maybe we won't, but they have a good ball club, and it's pretty hard to win 3 in a row. We have done it a number of times this year and won 5 in a row and 6 in a row. Maybe we can do it again.
Red, it's been a little indefinite as far as the people upstairs as to who is going to be your starting pitcher tomorrow. Will it be Gibson?
Yeah, I announced it before the game that Gibson would be the pitcher, and the young boy, the big, tall left-hander, will pitch Monday, definitely.
That's Carlton.
That's right.
Bet you were glad to see Orlando Cepeda finally come out of it with a long double to right center field.
Yes, he's been in a slump now for quite some time before the season ended. But the past 3 or 4 days before the season was over, he was swinging the bat better, and he's swinging the bat real good since the series started, but just hadn't connected with the ball, and you just can't hold a man like that down too long, and I think he's going to go and take it right now after that base hit he got.
Red, in the very first inning, Nelson Briles hit Talia Simpson with a pitch ball. There was a big discussion behind home plate. The 3 of you, Dick Williams, Frank Dumont, the umpire, and of course yourself. What was it all about?
Well, Williams thought that Briles was throwing at him, and I said he wasn't throwing at him, and Dumont said that he was going to handle it himself. I said, well, that's okay with me, but I just want to let you know he wasn't throwing at him. I said, if he had popped off in a paper like some guys did, that they were going to knock everybody down, then I would say he was throwing at him, but none of us ever said anything in the paper that we were going to knock anybody down or do this or that like a couple of the pitchers had said. So I just said that he wasn't throwing at him.
Reggie, you've seen the Red Sox, and you, of course, had the scouting reports, but now you've played them 3 ball games. You're up 2-1. What have you noticed about the Red Sox that was not in your scouting report?
Well, the scouting reports are just about the same. Tony, you know, when you go over these scouting reports, they're great. You get ideas from them. Some pitchers pitch different, you know, and your pitcher has to pitch his own game, and that's the way we're going to do it from here. The scouting reports, they give you the weakness of the other ball club, and it's great to have scouting reports, but Briles had good control. Depends on the pitcher. If he has good control, you know that, Tony, they're hard to hit, especially if they got stuff on them.
Red, and the key to the Red Sox seems to be the stop Yastrzemski, and that you did. Congratulations so much. We'll see you out here tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Red Shane. So now back up to Kirk County.
All right. And here in the radio booth, this is Ken Coleman, and we'll continue with our wrap-up in 1 minute.
I'm impressed with him. He has a real good curveball. I don't think he got it over too well today, but he does have a good one. I was a little surprised to hear what Brad Stanzi said downstairs a while ago. I thought maybe if they won this game today, they would start the big left-hander Carlson. I understand now that they're going to go with Bob Gibson tomorrow.
Yes, that was a rather surprising move, according to all the reports that we had heard up to this time, because Red had been mentioning that he would like to get a left-hander in there, partly with people like Yastrzemski and Jones providing a lot of the Red Sox power.
Yeah, I think one thing, Ken, that kind of hurts the Red Sox a little bit, they don't have real good left-handed pitching. They have a fellow named Sparky Lau, a good pitcher, but he does have a little arm trouble, doesn't he?
Yes, Sparky has arm trouble and is not available. In fact, the only southpaw available to us at the moment is young Ken Brett, who just turned 19 and has had only 2 innings of Major League ball behind him after working at Pittsfield this year. So that could be a problem. I want to get back just for a moment here to the totals on today's ball game. St. Louis winning at 5-2. Home runs were hit by Mike Shannon of St. Louis, a 2-run job in the 2nd inning. And Reggie Smith hit one for the Red Sox in the 7th inning. Dalton Jones had 3 hits and 4 tries for Boston. Lou Brock had a pair of hits. Roger Maris had 2. And Shannon had a pair for St. Louis. So it was quite a ball game here in the 3rd game of the World Series, played before the largest crowd ever at Busch Memorial Stadium. 54,575 fans were on hand to watch this one. And tomorrow, as Pee Wee mentioned, it will be Bob Gibson working for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Jose Santiago will be on the mound for the Boston Red Sox. The Cardinals jumped out very quickly in this game when Brock led off the game by whacking a triple into the alley out in left center field, and Flood singled him home. So right away, they had a 1-0 lead. Then in the 2nd inning, McCarver led off with a single, and Shannon came up with his home run. They picked up more in the 6th inning on a bunt by Brock. When Stang tried to pick him off first, he threw wildly past Scott, and Brock got all the way around to 3rd, where Maris singled him home. And in the 8th inning, Maris got a check swing single down the first base side, and Cepeda broke the ice for himself in the World Series by slamming a double off the wall in right center to send home the 5th Cardinal run. As far as Boston was concerned, in the scoring column here today, their first run came when Mike Andrews had a hit pinch hitting in the 6th inning, was sacrificed to 2nd and scored on Jones' single, and Smith provided the other run with the home run. So, Pee Wee, that's pretty much the story on this ball game today. And the fans now are starting to file out, and we have been, as we have mentioned a number of times during the broadcast, very fortunate in terms of weather, because when you and I get up this morning, I know that we had some doubts, a lot of doubts, about what the situation would be weather-wise, but it's held off, and now we might get some rain tonight and have it clear tomorrow.
Well, it certainly did turn out to be a nice game, Ken. Things don't look too sharp right now for the Red Sox, but I've said, and I've seen this ball club, and Lord knows you've seen them a lot more than I have. Just when you get bad weather, if you count this Red Sox ball club out, this is when they bounce back. And they're a real pressure ball club. They're cocky. And cocky not to the extent where you would dislike a ball club like this, but they're very confident, and that's good.
Well, you know, it's, I think a good example was the last week of the season when they lost 2 games in the middle of the week to the Cleveland Indians, and then had the Minnesota Twins come into town, a team that had beaten them 11 times already in 16 meetings. They had to win the 2 games at the end of the season with the Twins, no matter what anybody else might do, and they were able to do it. So it's that kind of a ball club, and we were discussing it last night, some of us, and Tony Kupak included, and he said the interesting thing about World Series competition, and you played in 7 of them, Pee-wee, so you might be able to bear this out or not. But Tony said the more World Series you're in, the more you get to realize what it's all about, and the more pressure you feel. When you're a youngster in it and you've never been in it before, maybe it doesn't bother you quite as much because you're just kind of thrilled about being there, and it doesn't quite hit you so much. How do you feel about that?
Well, I discussed that a little bit with Tony today, and he said you all were talking about that. I don't agree with him, and I told him so. So that playing in a World Series is always kind of nerve-wracking to me, Ken, and I played it one when I was about 20 or 21, my first year in 1941, and I played one in my career rather late. But it's a great thrill just to be in the World Series, but I think that I felt the pressure in every game and every series. I don't care whether I was young or whether I was old, but once the game started, I believe I lost it.
Well, I think that would be very understandable, and I suppose a veteran might lose it a little earlier than a newcomer, but I suppose, again, you get down to a matter of the makeup of the individual and how he reacts to pressure,
true.
You know? One of those things. Right now, we'll have the final totals for you once again in just 1 minute.
You know, most of I guess we get another look at Bob Gibson tomorrow, and if I ever saw a pitcher that looked more overpowering than he did in that first game up there at Boston, I can't remember when. He's not too much of a curveball pitcher, but he just keeps firing the ball hard, constantly for 9 innings.
Well, everybody on the Red Sox ball club, Stevie, was very, very much impressed with him. For most of them, it was the first time they'd seen Bob Gibson, of course, and they were very much impressed. The question I would ask you is that for a fellow who is, as they say, a power pitcher, to come back after so brief a time, is he going to be able to throw that hard again tomorrow?
Well, they say, Ken, I haven't seen that much of him, Ken. And another thing, as you said, they had never seen Bob Gibson before. And the second time around, it may be a little bit more helpful to him. They may not be so awed by him. And it should be a real interesting ball game. But I think you say a power pitcher has to come back that fast. It may be a little tougher.
Well, it might be. Now, Jose Santiago, of course, he has been in some clutch ball games down the stretch for the Red Sox, and he'll get the nod tomorrow for Boston with Jim Lonborg slated to work here on Monday. And Santiago, in the early stages of the first World Series game, had trouble with his breaking stuff. He couldn't keep it down, and he has got to be able to keep it down in order to be effective. And he started to get grooved after a while, and it's very possible that he'll be able to come up with a strong performance again. One of the things that should not be overlooked about today's game, I thought, Pee-wee, from the Red Sox standpoint, was the job turned in by Gary Wazlewski, who came in and pitched 3 perfect innings, setting down 9 men in a row.
Has he been with the ball club all year?
No, he hasn't. He was up. He didn't go with us at the beginning of the season